Hi everybody, this is Bleeding of Insanity Industries with the third update for the Trading Signals series number 1. And just when I thought it was over today, I got texts. And those texts read as follows. I'm going to cut out all of the headers and footers, but I will chuck the guts of the text in the load bar down below so we can see what we've got. Maybe I misread the first few, because at this time I saw some weasel words, and here we go. We'll get to them as we come. So this is the first one. The first one that came through said Aussie yen, and it says limit order price above 88.97. Now 88.97 is marked on the chart here and is this thick line here. So as you can see, this trade is already actually triggered, which is quite nice, but we'll have a look at it anyway. This take profit they've marked up here, I have no idea why you would choose that, none at all. And a stop loss down here. And let's take a quick analysis of this. And the first thing we see is that across here we have a pivot. Oh, come on. Thank you, MT4. Right. Pivot across there. That low there is a nice little point there of pivot. We have price doing that. That's a pivot. So their entry is actually behind a pivot, which is quite an awkward place, because you would think if price takes this and then closes again on this side, we should get price, if closes on that side, do that to us. Would get basically that kind of continuation pattern, and price would be continuing to go on down. So that's a little strange to have it there. And if we're going to go long on this movement, because this is the movement up here, this is the momentum that breaks the extreme, we would expect price to come down into somewhere about here. So if we get the continuation pattern down, price will come down to there at the beginning of the move, because this is where the demand is, which causes price to do this. So we would expect price to return to that level of demand if it doesn't immediately close back above this pivot here. Now, speaking of pivots, I'm sure we can see that there's another one floating across here. Nice little pivot in there. And it's interesting that the take profit requires the breaking of this little pivot here. Not saying it can't, just saying it's quite awkward, although here we have some momentum which has broken a pointy, and we would expect price to return to the origin of the move about here. So if we are correct about being long, then this top yellow line is the target, that the place that price ought to go to, and if price doesn't close back above this one a bit later, it's got to come down to here. Alright, moving on. It's quite an odd trade to have the entry below a clear pivot. Very strange. Moving on. Now the GN, this actually, I've marked what came through on the text, and there is in fact a trade correction that came through later. You can see there's obviously a clear typo down here, and so I'm going to now change this to the numbers that we are in fact given in the correction, which is 227. I haven't marked this one up in advance, obviously. 22 and 36. This one here they're claiming is a short. 2736. Okay, I have got that very wrong, obviously. Oop, there we go. It's because I can't type to save me. So, and then we have a stop loss. Again, as I said, weasel words, place your entry below that line, it says, which is quite strange. Instead of at that line, if you're going to do that, you'd say there'd be a box saying enter somewhere in this area. So we have a stop loss on this of 227 and 88, 52 pips again, quite an odd number. 27 and 88. Alright, well, that's fair enough. We'll zoom down to the 4 hour to get a better look at this in a sec. And a take profit at 25.78. 25. What a weird trade. Now, GN isn't one that I generally watch, although if we come over to my my little info screen here, we'll see up the top that GN is actually one of the largest movers. It's a huge mover. What am I basing this off? I think I'm actually basing this off the monthly average. So that's how many pips that it's ranged every month for the last 12 months, about 1,300 pips. It's a huge mover. So when we see this and it goes 1,300 pips in a month, and we're going to attempt to take 150 pips, you might think that's a pretty big mover. It's a pound pair, so it's got a bigger lot size than normal, but we'll come into the 4 hour and we'll see what we can see. The first thing I see is there's our pivot. Oop. I'm going to have to get my yellow line back again, aren't I? Yellow, fat, go. Okay. So I would say we're closing under it quite nicely, and if you're going to get short, you should already be short. Because once again, if price closes above this, right, here's the momentum that's broken the pointy. There we go again. There's the pause and go. That's where we're going. So taking a short out of here is quite a high risk strategy. To be honest about this, I wouldn't be too happy about that at all. Curiously, we have it's all looking quite ugly. I might need to go up to find a pivot. See, that's just nonsense in there now. Take a bit of that. Okay, down to the H4. Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going to draw the pivot, give or take, anyway. So they've got room to take this trade, but that's a big piece of ugly. I wouldn't be happy about that at all. That's a bit sort of no man's landy to be taking a short out of. I'm not happy about that at all. I wouldn't get in this trade. I might be wrong, but it looks like a pretty risky place on a chart to take a trade from. Just I can cross-plug the video I posted a few hours ago on risk and reward in trading. Anyway, moving on to the NJ, which is the one we've got coming up next. It says buy order NJ. Alright, at least we're going the same way on the New Zealand anyway. There we go. Limit order price above 81.19. That's that line there. 81.19 is that line. Stop loss below 80.74. That's there, which is again really odd. Now I've got to contrast this. I'm going to mark this up and then I'm going to throw the contrast, which is because we had the same pair the last week. So we're going to have a little look at something. First thing is to get down to there. We have to close below this pivot. God's sakes. Alright, so just, yeah, that's good enough as a place for a pivot. About there. Yeah, top of that, bottom of that, rejection, closing above it, no worries. So that represents quite a strange place because of this piece of price action in here, where what do you call it? Resistance has become support. It's an area of supply. It's become an area of demand. We actually have to break a demand area, or at least push deep into it to get an entry here. So it becomes quite a strange little place to have an entry. And of course we have this here as well. This little piece of basing in there. I'm going to put that as a smaller line because it's not kind of interesting. But once again, what we have here is this is the momentum move up, and it's broken this pointy and it's broken this one, so that's nice powerful piece. And we can look down here for where this move begins, and we might actually have to have a look at the hourly to see where the move actually begins from. There you go, there's the start of the move, which breaks it. Might need a thicker line again. There we go. We can go back to the H4. Right, so that's a good place to trade down to on the NJ in this kind of time frame. And I did say trade down to, because I still think that short that we talked about last week, which is just here, is still on. And why I wanted a big piece, the line I've just drawn comes out about there. And as you can see, that's the step down at the bottom that we expect to get. Now all of this spike up and down in here, we go back to the daily and we see what's often called tram tracks in there. This is nothing more than a wick. That represents a place that price can't stay. And where did it reject out of? Oh gee, ain't that something? Ain't that something? Bang bang, beautiful, love it. Take that short down to there. Fantastic. That short trade is still on. We haven't had any significant price action happen above that. It's all good. This is still short. NJ is still short. They're telling us to go long. I absolutely would not. You are in complete no man's land for a long. In terms of a trade you can get in, you can adjust your lot size, you can become more aggressive, you know, as price moves in your favor, and all of those other good things which, you know, separate good traders from great ones, really. So those are the three trades I got through, with a quick bit of analysis from myself there. So as usual, this is Bredon doing my best to help you make more money by sucking less.